Hi everyone! Today I wanted to talk about one of my favorite authors, Jane Austen, and rank her novels. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, so I'm excited. The bonnet was getting very warm. So anyway, I wanted to rank Jane Austen, and so Jane Austen has written many books. She wrote six novels. And she has several unfinished works and some short stories. I won't be talking about the short stories or unfinished works. Her unfinished work, Sanditon, has been completed by some other people, but it, in my opinion, doesn't measure up to Jane Austen's writing. Her short works are pretty fun. One of them was just made into a movie with Kate Beckinsale, Love and Friendship, that just came out several months ago, I believe. That was it. It was interesting to see one of her short stories come to screen. But her six main novels, Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, Persuasion, Emma, Northanger Abbey, and Mansfield Park, they have been made into movies, and some of my favorite characters are from these books. So, her six main novels. In the number 6 spot, I chose Mansfield Park. So, I like all her stories, but this one I believe, for me, I don't know how, if I were in the setting, I don't know how quickly I would have gotten to know the heroine, Fanny Price. And I think because of that, a lot of the more other characters were more vocal and friendly, so I don't know how quickly I would have been friends with her. So I think maybe that's why this was in the number 6 spot. Mansfield Park is a story of Fanny Price. She gets sent to live with relatives when she's very young because her family is very poor and her relatives are fairly well off. And she ends up falling for her cousin, but he might like somebody else, and there's new people in town, and just what happens then. Fanny is, she's very nice, she's very sweet and kind. There's a scene where some of her cousins and friends want to do a play, and she knows that her uncle, who's out of town, won't want them to do the play at the house, and she's like, I don't think we should do this, I don't think we should do this, and she stands firm and not wanting to really get involved in that and acting and all that. So that kind of shows a little bit of her firmness. The ending for me was a little bit rushed. So I think that's why, those are the reasons why I think that it's in the number 6 spot. In the number 5 spot, I know this is a lot of people's favorite book, but it's unfortunately in the number 5 spot, but it's Sense and Sensibility. This is a story of the two Dashwood sisters, Eleanor and Mary Ann, and their father has just died, so they need to find kind of a place to stay because their stepbrother is not really helping them with money and stuff. And it's both their journeys towards love. Eleanor is very reserved, she's thoughtful, she thinks through things, and Marianne is more emotional, she just goes gung-ho into stuff, and she just feels a lot. And there are some very memorable characters in here. I do have to say, Eleanor Dashwood, the older sister, I really like her character. She's very sensible, gives good advice. I just found I had a lot in common with her. For me, there was a couple parts that kind of dragged on a little bit, but overall, it was a good story. But Sense and Sensibility. And in the number 4 spot, I actually really liked Northanger Abbey. This is a story of Catherine Morland, and she's very young, and she's going out into the world for the first time, some family friends are taking her to Bath, and this is the first time she's been out of her town, and so she's like, ooh, new town, and she meets the handsome Mr. Tilney, and he kind of, she develops a friendship with him, but she also develops a friendship with some other people. Be the best people, and she gets invited to Henry Tilney's house because she became friends with his sister, and she starts seeing mysterious things. She starts finding mysterious things. It's kind of a spoof off of the Gothic novels from those days. And what happens? So it's a lot of people don't like it because it's one of her first works, so her writing wasn't as polished, but it was actually a really fun read for me. So, Northanger Abbey. The next one is Emma in third place. And Emma is actually one of my... I love all of Jane Austen's books, but Emma has a special place in my heart. Emma also has one of the more romantic literary couples, in my opinion. Emma and Mr. Knightley. And Emma has the first part of the book is she's handsome, clever, and rich, with a comfortable fortune, and she had very little to distress or vex her. And because of that, she's like, I need an occupation. I need something to do. So she starts matchmaking all her friends, and it's what happens with that, and the follies of matchmaking for Emma. And throughout the book, she has the family friend who becomes more increasingly important to her, so Mr. Knightley. And he's the only one who is able to tell her what he thinks and who she can be herself around. So I really like this one. In the number 2 spot, Pride and Prejudice. So, of course, love this book. It's a classic. If you haven't read it, you have to read it. It's funny. It's about Elizabeth Bennet. She has 4 other sisters, and the story opens when there are some new people coming into town, and her mom's like, oh, these are rich people. My daughters can marry them. And she meets the Mr. Darcy. And, of course, Mr. Darcy, one of the most romantic characters in literature. And just what happens at first, they don't like each other, they clash, but then she gets to know his character, and she starts to fall in love with him. So, this, of course, this one has a special place in my heart, too. So, Pride and Prejudice. And in the number 1 spot, Persuasion. Persuasion is, a lot of people have styled it as a Jane Austen's thinking person's novel. Just the story, I think, is just very romantic and very, just very real. This is a story of Anne Elliot. Years before the story starts, her and Captain Wentworth were engaged, but then she was persuaded by her family to break off the engagement, and 8 years later he comes back into town, and it's what happens, like, she says that, can he forgive her, do they still have feelings for each other, and things like that, and just the writing and just her thought process, I really liked. So, out of all the Jane Austen books, I have to say Persuasion is my favorite, just because I've read it so many times. I've read, actually, Emma, Pride and Prejudice, and Persuasion so many times, but I think Persuasion just has a little bit of edge over Pride and Prejudice, and is my favorite Jane Austen. So, that is Jane Austen ranked. How would you rank your Jane Austen's books for you? I'm always interested in seeing how other people rank the books. there have been some times a couple years ago I think I would have changed some of the stuff, but it's always fun to revisit Jane Austen's books. So I hope you like this video, like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Thanks. Bye.